Every year, corporations spend billions on incremental updates, attempting to win mere percentage points of market share. Yet for most, this yields zero forward progress. This is the limit of brand preference. It is a zero-sum battle to be selected from a static set of existing choices. Competing strictly on faster, cheaper, or better rarely alters the market structure. It creates a state of perpetual competition where positions remain stubbornly fixed. David Aaker argues that to achieve significant top-line growth, a company must stop fighting for preference within a category and instead shift the battleground. This requires moving past the "my brand is better than your brand" model to focus on brand relevance. Relevance does not seek to outperform rivals. It seeks to render them irrelevant by ensuring they lack the specific characteristics customers now require. Growth is not found by winning an existing game. It is found by defining a subcategory where your brand is the only considered option. To achieve this state of market relevance, a business needs a specific mechanism, the must-have. Think of the consumer's decision funnel. The must-have acts as a strict geometric filter slotted inside it. If a competing offering lacks this exact shape, it is ejected before the customer even reaches the point of comparison. This boundary is absolute. If a brand lacks the must-have, the customer simply will not consider it. Successfully establishing this filter repositions the brand as the sole occupant of a new subcategory, leaving rivals on the outside. We can see this boundary in action by looking at the hospitality industry. For decades, hotels competed on a standard set of metrics: price per night, location, and reward points. When Airbnb arrived, they did not attempt to win by offering a more efficient check-in or a cheaper hotel room. Instead, they introduced a must-have: access to unique non-hotel properties, from local apartments to castles, that the legacy industry was not built to provide. They added a second must-have: a host-driven experience that replaced transactional service with a personal, local connection. This Venn diagram shows the intersection defining a new subcategory. Combining unique properties, host experiences, and an integrated review system creates a territory traditional hotels cannot inhabit. For travelers requiring this intersection, the lack of these must-haves removes traditional hotels from consideration instantly. How do executives actively identify these must-haves? The first vector is leveraging new offering capabilities. Under Armour used new moisture-wicking technology to create a fabric that pulls sweat away from the body, establishing a new requirement for athletic wear. The second vector is solving deep customer friction. Nespresso observed the frustration of cleaning messy espresso filters and replaced that process with a clean, pre-filled pod system. T-Mobile targeted the widespread hatred of long-term contracts, using no contract service to define their uncarrier subcategory. The third vector is intercepting market trends before they reach the mainstream. Whole Foods captured the shift toward organic food long before legacy grocers could reorganize their supply chains to match. Note that a must-have does not always require a new invention. Often it is about scaling an existing concept that has been poorly executed by others. Effective sourcing requires looking beyond R&D labs to analyze where technology meets cultural shifts and customer annoyance. This leads to a strategic trap: the assumption that you must be the first to invent a technology to own the subcategory. In reality, the brand that defines the subcategory is rarely the pioneer that invented the core product. Diet Coke was not the first diet soda, yet it was the brand that ultimately defined the subcategory for the mass market. Pioneers often launch years before the market is ready, resulting in flatlines. The exemplar brands arrive later and see exponential growth. Inflection points show where the exemplar brand finally aligned the technology with the right market framing. The exemplar brand wins by removing the final reasons not to buy that held the pioneer back. Winning is not about being first to the patent office. It is about being the first to successfully frame the subcategory in the consumer's mind. Because must-haves require significant resources, they must be evaluated through a rigorous gauntlet. Ideas must survive two specific reality checks to separate a true must-have from a minor update. The first check protects against rosy picture bias, where champions use a magnifying glass to make minor features look transformational. The second targets gloomy picture bias, where risk-averse executives squeeze massive market opportunities into tiny boxes. This bias often leads companies to ignore substantial innovations because they seem too niche at the start. Executives must ask if the innovation actually changes what is being bought, rather than just how it is perceived. Finally, the organization must verify it has the actual assets and operational will to deliver on the new promise. Evaluation is about finding the middle ground between internal optimism and organizational risk aversion. This market map shows the final architecture, an isolated subcategory island protected by a perimeter wall of must-haves. Competitors approach, but lacking required features, they bounce off. Inside, the single exemplar brand expands rapidly, leaving no room for latecomers to gain a foothold. Pursuing this strategy requires cannibalizing your own legacy business and disrupting your internal status quo. The objective is to stop fighting over the best brand and become the only relevant brand for that specific customer need. When you perfectly engineer the must-have, you don't just win a share of the market, you define the market itself.